Hey guys, welcome. So today I am going to embark on a seated calf machine attachment for my rack. I'm a big fan of sprinting, and you know that, and the soleus muscle is so important for developing good ankle stiffness, and the best way to train that in isolation is seated calf. But the problem is sometimes you have to like set up a bar on top of your lap with a bit of padding and then like a weird block or something like that, and it just doesn't really cut the mustard, and because you can't really load it because you're trying to balance it, digs into your thighs and all sorts of like that. So I'm gonna try and maximize my rack space. As you know, home gym guy. This is the 1.0. When we move into the new place this coming month, we're gonna be doing a full gym build. We'll be building my own gym from scratch there. But today we're gonna look to see how we can, with this rack, this attachment, can we put together a seated calf. So here are my highly detailed and really accurate design specs. There's me sat down. This is Sam right here with his big arms and his big calves. And this is how I'm going to place the attachments together. The plan is to build a standalone unit, very simple, very easy, that can clip in and clip out and sort of install into the rack. From the top side, so from the side here, this is how we're looking to set. I'm just going to have a standalone calf block that I'm going to make, and then this this thing here, this strut coming out, we can either going to look to plate load it over the top or use the cable pulley that I've got here and try and maximize the use of the cable pulley on just a simple cantilever pendulum setup here inside the rack. So I've got this 1-inch steel bar that I took actually from an old shoulder press machine. So I've got this, and we're gonna give it a crack. You're gonna bust out the tools, the drill, the saw, the man stuff, and start building some equipment so I can build some calves so I can run really fast. So I've done some measuring up, and I've got limited space to work in, so I've set my saw up here, and I've found, first of all, I've got a piece of wood. It's 18mm thick by about 4 inches wide. I'm going to use that to cut out the 60 centimeter lengths. That's going to start the making of the frame, of which we will box over and mount all the attachments to. That's going to be the central hub. Then we'll run a very similar pattern across to create a T on the end, which will then provide us with the thigh cushioning support. So here we go, let's start cutting. Straight away, creating some design modifications already, which is brilliant because this is what this stuff's all about, just figuring it out as you get along. So where here, I'm going to show you now, where we have the existing framework like this, I was going to put two struts together. What I'm going to have to do now is essentially create a box, okay, and then run the connection in between. Then what I'm going to do over the top is mount a plate, which is going to allow for a couple of things: a weight loaded anchor, so we can anchor directly on, but it's also going to help distribute the stress of the load that could potentially, be underneath it if we're looking to run up the cable machine there. It's going to experience a lot of shear, especially and around that fulcrum, so there's going to be a lot of pull on it. So what I want to do is create a solid structure to allow that to maintain the load. So we'll keep going, keep figuring it out. What we're doing here is, if you imagine this is the edge of the rack, So this is facing into the rack. What I'm doing is measuring this space here, so it's 42, and essentially what I'm going to need to do is cut another piece of other wood to create a section of strong integrity in here, to which then what I'm going to do is pop the holes through the wood towards the back edge here, so I'll have enough space, pop the holes through the wood there, which is then going to allow this pivot action to work through the steel 1-inch pipe. So it's going to be really strong through there. Then I'll be able to mount a plate on top, which we can put plate loaded, and then I'll also be able to mount a section on the bottom, which is going to create our cable anchor. So let's go. So here we have the frame. So this is going to be the end section. So we're going to punch some holes in here. You can see it's nice and solid. You're going to sit in that rack nicely. Now we're going to cut these holes in here and size it in the rack before we then look to do the covering and the load attachment areas. Coming along nicely. So what we've got here now is, you can see we've attached, this is for hanging a punch bag, and attach a bracket with a clip. This is the plate for where you're going to rest your knees on, and we'll get some, for now I've just got some old mats and stuff that I can use to chuck on top of that, and that's going to help. This is going to allow us to anchor to the cable to start off with. So I'm going to try and set this up now in the cage and see how we feel, and then I'm going to look to do the plate loaded attachment differently in a minute. Okay, so first now major little pitfall. It's going well. It's going well. I'm still back myself. You can see it all hangs in there, sits nicely. It's strong. It's contained. I just had 40 kilos on the cable, but the problem is going to be mounting it. Okay, you know, most calf machines have like a wooden, have a rack of which you can rack the weight in, and then you can get underneath it. So what I'm gonna do is have to mount a bracket on top of the shelf itself, and I'm gonna have to use the rack and almost create like a winch that's gonna allow me just to winch it up quite aggressively, get myself underneath it, then loosen it to do my calf raises. So let's go. So scrap the idea of using a winch type thing to keep the plate loaded and stuff, and I'm just literally gonna use a block of wood instead. I've got a good enough length that I'll be able to just lift it, lock it in, clip it from underneath, and then just knock the piece of wood out when I'm about to do my calf raises. So now I'm going to mount this top loading plate here, which is going to allow me to put weights on top. So what that affords me is like the way that I'm loading it. Obviously also the cable on the rack is only going to take a certain amount of weight. So being able to have the plate on top means I can just stack 20s on top of it. This is just an old scaffold ring, and I've got a bit of pipe that I'm just going to put in there, connect up, and we're good to go. It's all in, we've got it on. I've got the horn on now, so you can see how we'll load plate weight onto there. What I've also done is behind the back, I've extended the chain. It's just going to give us that extra bit of clearance when lifting it up, and I just clipped on extra links of chain that I had from different attachments, so I haven't really spent anything extra. A little bit fiddly, obviously this is the first time I'm putting it all in place, but that's that clipped on there. And then if I lift this now, get it back in. We've got that clearance. And then I can feel, just with this 50 kilos, oh, the amount of pressure that's coming through here already. The amount of load and stability is solid. And so now, what I'm going to do is get that to that highest point. We've got that locked in there now. Just going to rack a plate on it. And slide myself back underneath. Get it onto that calf raise. Take it off. Oh, up and down. Some real decent work there. I'm quite pleased with this actually. Lock it off. Take it off. And there you have your own homemade seated calf raise using the cable attachment and its own plate attachment. And that took me about 2 hours to make whilst talking to you, and probably cost me, from scrap wood and everything together, maybe about 10 quid. So lastly, if you're still here, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you could like the video, if you do like it, and could you comment, tell me what you think. Are you going to make one? I've got a couple of other homemade attachments that I will be doing videos on. I've got a standing pendulum squat that I use and standing calf, and then also just a simple plate setup for a reverse hyper. So my name's Sam, I'm Coach Sportland. Subscribe to my channel, see everything, all the training I do with all my athletes. And also, if you want to watch me move into my new house, build a whole new gym using all this equipment that I've got here that's going to be plush, and my new home office, then subscribe and make sure you put those notifications on. Much love, stay fast, Coach Sportland out.